Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Code Remix Weekly. I'm one of your regular hosts, Tim Topik, and not with me today is Sam. Sam is out on holiday in Australia, if I'm not mistaken, and he won't be with us this week and not next week as well, whether it's Thanksgiving. So he's really making the most out of that time off to see a bit of the other end of the world. So with that, then we're just going to not have a lot of banter up front. I'm just going to take you through the things that are new in the past week. And with that, of course, everyone is eyeing a big new release happening tomorrow, where the folks at Spring are going to put out a new major version of Spring Boot. We're going to do a dedicated episode on this in 2 weeks, where we'll bring on Deshaun to talk about everything new in Spring Boot and how to upgrade and all of that. But we, of course, have already silently been preparing for this upcoming release by working on recipes to help you all upgrade. And we'll do a release of Open Rewrite tomorrow morning. So if you have any last-minute contributions, get them in today, tonight, and I'll clear them out and get those out tomorrow, such that everyone by Friday can already be on 4.0 or tell us and complain about all the things that haven't yet been implemented yet in the migration recipes. So something we're really looking forward to, and hope, of course, that it helps you all to upgrade as well. And we can try to do a sneak peek of the recipes involved with, no, that's not what I wanted to see. So the recipes didn't work. So let me open a recent one that I just created, which was Spring Boot 4.0. It should be this one. And we have a slight challenge now with the Spring Boot 4 migration recipes containing a lot of recipes. So this recipe builder that we've been using over the years to help you make sense of the recipes and what's contained within them, we're finding that it's starting to creak yet again because of the ever-expanding amount of recipes included when you now go to Spring Boot 4, including all of your Spring Boot 3.5 migrations, but also Jakarta EE11, JSpecify, Elasticsearch, Hibernate 7, Kafka 4.1, and everything that comes with it. So if you want to know how to adopt your modular starters for Spring Boot 4.0, keep an eye on that release, and we'll be able to get you all along to the next version. So that is coming up tomorrow. Today, a good portion of our team is out in San Francisco. There's a big event there for QCon, where part of the team is presenting as well. And you can have a quick look at our booth. I really like the back banner right here because it really emphasizes what we aim to do as a company, to allow you to refactor everything but break nothing. So we're really pleased with that. If you are in the area, definitely go seek out the team. There's also some surrounding program as well where you can meet a few of them there. And quite exciting as well is that we've been nominated for the DevOps Awards, so you can go vote for us as a project, which you think is innovative and helping folks migrate. And if you want to vote for us, you have to go to devopsdozen.com. And then from there, there's an option to vote now, and you should be able to get your vote heard and potentially have us reflected in when it comes to the top projects there. If you want to see me present again, but then next week on a Wednesday, in person in Amsterdam, you can go to the Uber offices and we'll give a presentation there on trusting AI to modernize at scale, which is a variation but continuously updated presentation that I've been giving on how we as Modern see and leverage AI when it comes to making changes on a large scale. And if you want to see how the folks at Uber have used some of the same recipes that we've developed, then there's also a webinar coming up next week, 2 weeks from now, December 3rd, where you can see how they upgraded to JUnit 5 in just 2 weeks, upgrading 1 million lines of code in this way. And it's already proven to give some interesting discussions on LinkedIn, like how did they even do a review on 1 million lines of code in 2 weeks? Well, the beauty of it is that you probably don't have to, because these recipes are going to make the changes for you, and you have perfect test coverage on all of your tests. So if you're interested to hear more about how they achieved exactly that, then go to the link that I just shared. And then from there, you can join that webinar, and you'll hear all about the details there. Now, just this afternoon, we rounded off another edition of the, in this case, advanced recipe authoring workshop here with OpenRewrite and Madrid. This one was in the European time zone. If you want to learn about recipe authoring, whether you're a beginner still or you're somewhat advanced already, but you want to learn in a more like US-friendly time zone, then definitely register for the upcoming trainings in December. The first one will be on December 4th for a gentle introduction, and there'll be a slightly more advanced just before Christmas on December 18th. And we hope to see any and all of you there. So that is everything that is new in the past week or so. And also looking ahead at the coming weeks where we'll be at events. So then with that, let's remove this screen share. And I can get to introducing a good friend of mine. So we're going to have Tom Coles on here, who's a Java champion. He is a Belgian Java user group code lead. He is DevRel, I believe, at Timefold specifically.
Correct.
And then and let's say unofficial tour guide for all of the speakers visiting DevX Belgium or anything else. So pleased to have you on the show.
Thanks. That's a tradition that has stuck for some reason. I got sort of scammed into doing it one time by someone who said, "Oh yeah, you can give me a tour," and then this lovely person decided to ask 2 more people who asked 2 more people. So it became like a weird sort of pyramid scheme, but the person on top is actually me, and I had to do a tour for 20, 30 people. Yeah. Maybe you missed one important thing. I may be here also since Sam isn't here. We can banter a bit.
That's absolutely welcome. Yeah. Okay. No, it's I can definitely recommend Tom as a tour guide. As he is very adept at reading from his phone whatever the statue behind him is, and then it's just
some years
amusing.
Times, yeah.
But they keep improving as well. So if you want to join us at the DevOps Belgium next year, definitely recommend it. And I think there'll be another one. And then,
yeah, you don't even have to go to DevOps, really. You just have to be in Antwerp for that evening. And I usually post it somewhere very last minute, so I don't have like 100 people following me. It's just a select group because, there's also some safety concerns to take into account.
There is indeed. I think you've on one of the occasions you got into a bit of a tussle with an official tour guide who thought, "Well, what's going on there?" You have to explain it.
Not really. Okay. I mentioned that as a joke, but I'm glad that that's the part of the tour that you actually remembered them.
It's very much a tour not being done for tips, but it is just a good way to spend an evening with friends.
Yeah, and since I'm also the one of the co-organizers of the Belgian Java user group, I usually invite a lot of the speakers of DevOps, and then I gently ask them at the end of the tour, "Hey, I gave you a good tour. Don't you want to come speak at my lovely user group in Belgium?" Which, as Tim knows, is quite a drive.
I can't deny it is a bit out of the direction for me personally, but it is definitely recommended. There's a lot of engagement, a very friendly audience, free pizza as well, and then definitely recommend it.
So. Well, we try to switch it up. I actually asked like newer hosts to give something else besides pizza, because some people say that they really don't want pizza. But something healthier. But then I have other people that say, yes, but I come here for the pizza because I'm like on a diet, and this is the way I can like bypass my diet a little bit.
That works. I know, like at my previous company, we had a manager come in, and he personally didn't like fish or sushi or anything, and that meant that he was the one ordering the food. And then for 2 years, we didn't have any sushi after having sushi probably every other month or so. And that also led to complaints where folks said, "Oh, it's like, can we bring it back?" So you have to find a place that sells both sushi plus something for Erik.
But that's smart. If you don't like something, organize it yourself. And then you can call all the shots. So that's great.
No, that works. So, but yeah, no, definitely great to have you here. It's like, maybe like for the folks who haven't already known you for years, like who are you and what is Timefold, which is behind your name?
Yeah. So first a bit about me. So I'm Tom Coles. I used to be a consultant for 12 years, which is sort of where I got to know the Open Rewrite and Modern projects. Use it in quite a few companies to great relief. usually because I worked in a lot of companies that decided to write their own frameworks, like big financial institutions, and they have a tendency to write their own frameworks on top of Spring or on top of Quarkus or whatever. And then they realize, oh yeah, if we want to push our next version, or we want to do some breaking change, then we'll probably get back to that topic later. Then we actually need to have something to make that fast, because else management is not going to like us so much for doing breaking changes. So that's where I got to know Open Rewrite and such. About a year and a half ago, I got the offer to come work at Timefold. And the reason why they gave me the offer was actually because I just started speaking at conferences because I thought it was fun. And one of them saw me, thought, "Oh, hey, Tom, you're quite a good speaker, and your presentations are sort of funny." No guarantees for tonight, by the way. So, would you be interested in coming to work for us? And I was already a big fan way before Timefold even was a thing. So that's why I, after some doubts, eventually did say yes. And now I'm doing this. I'm talking to the community and trying to see if Timefold is helpful for some people.
Yeah, go to you.
About Timefold itself, I do have a few slides to kind of tell the story of what we actually do, and then we can tie it back to how Open Rewrite and such comes into play and modern.
Shall I pull them up?
Yeah, pull them up. So the main mission for Timefold is to free the world from wasteful scheduling, because we believe that a lot of scheduling is actually done in a bad way, so that it kind of wastes a lot of money and time and energy. So when I talk about scheduling, there's quite a few use cases that we run into almost on a daily basis. So for example, on airports, there's so many things that need to be scheduled. So Tim, you fly a lot. Can you guess what kind of things need to be scheduled?
Well, one thing I try to avoid is luggage, but I know it's a big component of making sure your baggage actually makes it on the plane. And we've had both quite some friends who would arrive at a conference but not have their luggage with them because some kind of scheduling of, I don't know, folks being on strike meant that their bags didn't make it on. And then 2 days later, the bag will be there, but they'll be long gone again. On to the next one.
Exactly. So that's just one of the examples for airports. Actually, airports are full of like scheduling problems, because you need to schedule what airplane goes to which docking station here. Airplanes themselves need maintenance, and the better you schedule that maintenance, the more time these airplanes have in the air. You need to schedule the attendees, so all the personnel you see on the plane needs to be scheduled. Even as soon as you enter the airport, you see like people sitting at the check-in desk, and those same people are usually also the people checking you in at the airplane itself. So they need to be scheduled in such a way that they have that desk on front and then have time to go to the gate and then await you at the gate there as well. You have the security guards as like a bunch of scheduling cases. But it doesn't have to be like in an airplane. It's also just delivery people. Imagine something, a company where you have 20,000 packages and 200 vehicles. There is a good way to do that, and there is like a lot of other ways to deliver these packages. But you would hope that if you deliver 20,000 packages with 200 vehicles, that they're sort of the right vehicles are taking the right packages in approximately the same direction, so that they minimize their travel time. So optimizing that is really a big use case. And a lot of these use cases are being sort of dragged down, and that's just the planning part. The amount of companies that we speak to that are doing these things either on paper, like literal Post-its on the wall, or Excel is incredible. And the downside is that that's all manual planning. People are just dragging and dropping, or literally taking a Post-it and placing it somewhere else on the wall. And that can be done way better. But there's sort of a problem, because people underestimate this entire planning thing, because it's actually a huge undertaking, whatever it is, if it's airplane scheduling or something else. And I want to do a small exercise with you, Tim. I hope you're good at math.
Sure. Okay. Oh God. Let me open a separate screen. Yeah.
Quickly opens ChatGPT. Using a language model is not going to help with this question, I think. But anyway, so imagine that you have 30 employees, and you need to assign them to 150 shifts. How many different ways can you do that?
This is going to have a lot of zeros, right?
Maybe let's start with just one. What if I have one shift I need to assign? How many different combinations can I make?
Is this factorial? I think
It's
depending on
shift.
like how many. Oh, you have one shift and you have 30 employees. That's 30.
So one shift, you have 30 options, right? Now, if I have two shifts, how many options do I have then?
I'm sorry. I've had a really long week.
I love doing this because it's like past 9 p.m. in our time zone. So
yeah. That plus, yeah, sure.
No, go ahead. What were you going to say?
I'm blanking really hard here. It's like I've had a couple of days of trainings back to back where at the end of the day I'm happy if I can still walk upright and make it to the bedroom. So then mental math while on video at this point is a challenge. But yeah, I'm curious to hear the answer. Yeah.
I'll help you out. So it's actually 30 times 30 options. So this assumes that two shifts can be anything, right? It can be a shift on Monday and a shift on Tuesday. Then you can assign the same employee to both of those shifts, which means that you have 30 times 30 options.
And there's no overlapping shifts. It's not like limitations of one person can only do X amount of shifts.
Assume no limitations for now.
No constraints yet. Okay, good.
So 3 shifts is, you could see a pattern here. It's 30 times 30 times 30. Which means that if we have 150 shifts, and honestly, 150 shift assignments is not that many for the use cases we see, it's 30 to the power 150. Now, these sorts of numbers to the power 150, where we usually don't deal with those very well in our heads. It's not just because it's evening for us and you've had a hard week. This is just, we're not capable of doing that decently in our head. So when I try to explain just how huge this undertaking is, I usually compare this number to the amount of atoms in the observable universe. So come with me for a second. So 30 to the power 150, if you translate a little bit, then it's 10 to the power of 221. So that's a lot of zeros. The amount of atoms in the observable universe is 10 to the power 80. So this simple planning problem has 141 more zeros behind it. Those are all the different combinations we could make. So it's a huge problem space that somewhere in there is the best solution, or a few very good solutions, and then probably a lot of very bad solutions. So you can't just brute force this. Literally, our sun will have, the heat death of the universe will have occurred by the time you've calculated this brute force. I don't know if planning some employees is worth waiting for until the heat death of the universe, but that's just the way it goes. So we need to do it smart, and not only do we need to do it smart, there's also constraint. You were already hinting towards it. There's things that will limit which of these plans are actually workable. There's availability of your employees. There's skills. You don't want a nurse and a plumber, or a plumber to do things that only a nurse can do. That's usually the silly example we give. But you usually have different skill levels, maybe this needs to be a senior developer. In the context of development, maybe this needs to be a senior developer, this can be a junior developer, whatever. So skills, there's contracts, as you said, maybe they only are working part-time, so you need to take that into account. There's locations. If there's multiple shifts and multiple locations, then you need to make sure that there's enough time to move between these locations. Shift patterns. Shift patterns is an interesting one that I only realized once I started working at Timefold. Legally, some professions have certain patterns: 3 days on, 3 days off, or 3 days on, 2 days off. So these patterns also need to be taken into account. Then there's risk factors, like if you are allergic to peanuts, I genuinely hope that they don't plan you in like the place where peanuts are being handled. And there's also pairing. And pairing often happens when you have a trainee-trainer relationship. For example, nurses, they're often trained. They get assigned usually one trainer and one trainee, and those need to be paired together. So if the trainer has a day off, then the trainee also can't be scheduled that day because that one can't work. So you can imagine that just by thinking about this is super crazy. And then we have things like fairness, making sure that everyone has like all the weekend, approximately the same amount of weekends off. And then there's preferences. And normally a human planner is already given up. And when you ask him, hey, I don't have a day off on Wednesday, but could you please make sure that I'm not scheduled on Wednesday? They just throw their hands up and just go, yeah, forget about it. We can't do that.
And I think we haven't even touched upon, but maybe you will still, is that like you have a planning phase and then you have an execution phase. And the first thing that goes out the window is whatever plan you had because, someone called in sick. And well, it turns out you do actually need someone to, I don't know, administer that shot or something like that.
I hadn't prepared that one, but I can get back to that. I have something for that I can quickly show you. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of what we do with Timefold. So we believe that every company has a mission. Everyone wants to achieve something, and with Timefold and solving these planning problems, we try to help them do more of their own mission. So that's basically it. So our entire goal is to free the world from wasteful scheduling, and wasteful is not just bad scheduling. We genuinely see like 25% improvements when it's scheduled with the things that with the technology that we have. So for example, in the case of delivering these packages, we genuinely see that compared to what our clients were using before, we have like a 25% less travel time. And if you calculate that to many vehicles, that's good for 3 reasons. It is good for the employees because they're not wasting time driving needlessly. It's good for the environment because less CO2. And it's also good because you can deliver more packages and good for the bottom line of the company. So that's sort of what we do with Timefold. So I explained this. So we are not Gen AI. We are explainable and deterministic, which is important because it turns out you can generate a cool schedule, but if you can't repeat the schedule and explain why certain people were assigned, then it becomes really hard to explain. It becomes this black box thing, and people just won't accept it.
And it's something we absolutely love as well. Explainable and deterministic. Like from my company to yours, it's very much what we want to see happen. Yeah,
I can imagine, and that's kind of where I think I'm curious to see your session on the vision of AI with the open rewrite that you were mentioning before that you're presenting at Uber. I want to see that session because I'm quite curious how you're dealing with explicitly the non-deterministic nature of Gen AI, because that's a tricky one. But anyway, that's for
next Wednesday.
Next Wednesday, okay.
If you're in the area, there's pizza probably or something else.
We'll see. Maybe I'll make it to Amsterdam. I'll see what I can do. Cheers. We are not just Gen AI. We're explainable and deterministic, despite scanning this entire space, and we are pluggable. So we have a few different solutions that allow you to plug our technology into your system that you already have. So we're not an end-to-end solution where you will create shifts and then drag and drop the shifts or anything. We are just a planning core that we that people can use and integrate into their existing systems. So that's sort of what we do. So I already said this, but I wanted to stress that yes, we are AI, but we're not Gen AI, and I think it helps to set the tone a little bit. That when people on the street right now say, I'm working with AI, usually they mean this little Gen AI bubble. So there's so much more to it. And I think we as Timefold are more in the artificial intelligence layer where we have intelligent software. We're not training on examples because you can't actually do that for these kind of problems because they're so varied and different. But we are AI, but more they don't always like it when I say it, more the old school AI, the AI that has always had a lot of value but got kind of stuck in academia. So there's a lot of academic papers about these things, but very little to make it like production ready.
Proper well-applied math to problems in a practical
proper well-applied math is a good way to say it. Yeah, that's a good way to say it. So we have 3 different solutions. We have pre-made models, which are sort of like to combine with the platforms like our REST SaaS API solution. but that model and that platform actually use as an engine our open source solver, and that's the one that I wanted to highlight today. So let me just give you a quick example of what that looks like. So I have it here. So this is the employee scheduling quick start. So I'm going to now schedule 964 shifts and 50 employees, so quite big.
That's already like the other one was 221 times 10.
Yeah, exactly.
So this would.
So just to make sure I'm very clear about this, Timefold does not come with a UI. These are demo examples to kind of visualize what the schedule looks like. So this is not a UI that we ship per se. This is just part of our quick starts that people can download and run on their own PCs if they want in like 2 minutes. So how Timefold works is you have a bunch of constraints that you need to validate, and we will just, for some reason, it's not getting to the end. That's interesting. It's okay. No, that's fine. I can click solve again, and then it actually continues where it was left off. So this is pure Java code. So what we do is we try to match. Let me just see if I can show you quickly. You are seeing this, right, then?
Yep, I'm seeing your IDE. Yeah. And now the browser.
Yeah, just a second. For some reason, it's not switching correctly. There we go. So it's just Java classes with some annotations on them. So I have a simple, let's see, does this work? Yeah, that's better. So I have a simple employee class that's just a simple DTO. And we are going to, with Timefold, assign these to shifts. And that's basically this variable. So where you see this variable, this is the variable that Timefold will continuously be adapting, trying to find a better and better solution. Now, but then you still have to say, what is a better solution? Because Timefold doesn't know that. And that's where the constraints come into play. And the constraints are also Java code. So it's all in Java. So I have a bunch of constraints here. And the syntax looks a bit scary, but once you get used to it, it's actually quite okay. So, for example, we have one constraint that's called...
I know that problem where the recipe might look scary, but if you get used to it, it's actually quite okay.
Well, it takes like I heard this very good quote by Venkat Subramaniam, so one of the speakers in the Java circuit. And he said, whenever you see something, you need to really think, is this complex / difficult, or is it unfamiliar? And I think that this is not that complex, it's just unfamiliar to quite a few people. So anyway, so here you can build a constraint, and basically you say it's sort of a mix between Java streams and SQL syntax. For each shift, so for each shift that has been configured, filter all the shifts where the employee skills do not contain the required skill for that shift. So pretty readable, I think. And for each of those matches, so for each time an employee doesn't have the skills that are required for a shift, penalize it with one hard constraint. There's two sort of constraints. Hard constraints are like the ones that really, really shouldn't be broken. And then we have soft constraints. Those are the ones that can be broken, but it's better if you don't. So this is what one of those constraints looks like. We have about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We have 8 constraints here. In our SaaS solution, we have over 100 constraints that you can configure yourself. Now, that's one thing. Oh, why is it freaking out weirdly? Okay. So I ran this, and you can see now that Elsa Green has gotten a shift where she had desired to have a shift. So that's like a preference that got taken into account. You can see that it planned around all the unavailable regions. So this looks like a good shift. But when I said that we're explainable, we actually have an explainability feature, and that's behind this question mark in this demo, where you can actually see for each of the constraints that was configured, were they broken? How many times were they broken? So this explains a bit where the score comes from. And Timefold will always try to find a better score by changing something, running the relevant constraints again, comparing the score, and so on. So that's basically how it works. You have a few domain classes in Java. So that's, for some reason, so you have a few domain classes in Java right here. So in this case, employee and shift, and then a class to kind of gather everything together. So this is where all the employees and shifts are taken together. And besides domain, which is just some Java classes with an annotation on it, you have a constraint provider where you list your constraints. Now, the cool thing is, typically, these sort of problems are solved with heavy math, and then they make some sort of weird function out of it, and it becomes really difficult to change things. While here, if I need a new constraint or I need to change how the constraint works, I just type something new. I just not make a new constraint. If I, for example, want to ignore all these soft constraints, I can just comment them. Oh, Jesus. I can just rerun the project here. And this is Quarkus, so it should have just rebuilt everything. And since I ignored everything now, all my preferences, my soft constraints, you will see that I have 0 soft errors, but I do have some people that are working in undesired times just because I disabled those constraints. So this makes it pretty flexible to deal with. And for some reason, my browser sort of crashed. That's fine. So we have something that's explainable and just works pretty well. People can build this with the open source, but we do have like a REST API that makes it easier to consume. So I just want to show that we have quite a few use cases. I believe we have like 12 in the quick starts that people can check out. But I did want to get to this part because we are a company that's like 3 years old by now, but we have 2 decades of experience with this technology. And that's because our CTO, Geoffrey, started an open source project in 2006. So just as a hobby project, it was called OptaPlanner. And he was doing it for funsies. And then when he joined Red Hat, they decided, hey, we're going to see what we can actually do with this. He stayed until IBM took over a part of Red Hat and so on. And then at some point, they said, yeah, but we're not going to continue with OptaPlanner anymore. But that was around here. But Geoffrey had worked on this since 2006. It's like his baby. Like if you worked on a project for a long time, it sort of becomes... I have an actual baby now, so it feels a bit weirder to say that now. But it sort of does become like part of you.
Yep.
So he decided to take it over to basically fork the project and continue as Timefold. So OptaPlanner was first. I was a big fan of OptaPlanner before Timefold existed, which is why I've been a long time fan. I was very happy that they asked me to join Timefold as well. But it was interesting how this fork actually went, because we ran into open rewrites at 3 locations right before we did the fork to help current OptaPlanner users move to Timefold and then to continuously update Timefold as well. So I just quickly want to show how we did that. So how we forked OptaPlanner. So the thing was that we knew that we were going to start the company. We didn't know when that was ready to basically fork and actually take it over actively. But OptaPlanner was still evolving. So we were kind of thinking, how can we make sure that we don't fork now and then already miss updates that they're doing on their open source part? So basically, we prepared a migration script. There's actually a repository somewhere in our archives that says OptaPlanner fork or forker, like the verb for to fork, OptaPlanner forker. And that just contains like a bunch of open rewrite scripts. So we actually wrote, or Geoffrey in this case, wrote the open rewrite scripts, the recipes before we forked it. We used it to do our fork.
That's, I was in touch with Geoffrey at the time. I think we met at what's the conference in Brussels called, the community organized one?
FalseDem?
Yeah, that one. And then spoke about like recipes and authoring, and he was asking more and more questions about writing recipes, and very much interested in how to write his own as well. And when you ask him then about his next plans, it's a bit like hush hush. There is a plan, but it wasn't ready to be shared just yet.
Yeah, but that could have also still been for OptaPlanner as well. I don't know the details about that one anyway.
No.
So basically, we had the prepared migration script. So on the day that Timefold as a company was ready to take over, because you have to set up a company, you have to have developers, you have to set up your GitHub repository. If you want to fork something and really continue it, it takes you can't just click the fork button now and expect to easily continue. And that's not always the case, especially if you want to host it seriously as a company, not just forking it to do a contribution. That's a different thing. So we waited until the company was ready. Then we executed the script, had some champagne, and then a couple minutes later we went back to work because that's all it took. Geoffrey told me it was done in like 2 minutes. And then the entire fork, the script was, I believe, make the fork, run all the open rewrite recipes that we got, a few smaller changes that were a bit more difficult to do with open rewrite, at least like 3 years ago, and then back to work. So that's sort of how we forked it. And I find it kind of interesting that I've not heard this story from other companies that decided to fork. Like first make your migration script just with open rewrite and then do the fork. I've not heard that story before, so I thought it was interesting enough to share today.
There is the folks at I'm blanking on the name right now, but you have Camunda, and then there's the fork of Camunda that we've had them on the show here as well, who now have a script for folks to run to similarly migrate their users off of Camunda onto their own fork Opta. Yeah. You've set a good example for folks to fork a project. Yes.
Yeah, and you basically already mentioned it now. What we did do, which is what some people that fork don't do, is we kept it as simple as possible, and our fork was only a package and class rename, and then just immediately a release. We wanted to have that first release of Timefold as easy as possible, not something with like you mentioned for your Spring 4 migration. You might miss something just because it's such a large thing. But in this case, we just just package and class rename and we ship it, and it's fine. Then we can continue from there. And I think that really helped. So basically, our forker was just some package changes that was pretty simple to do. Now, because we did it that way, it actually also made the OptaPlanner to Timefold migration very easy, because we kept it as simple as possible. So not just for us to do the fork, but also to help our clients do the migration. It's basically the same, just some package changes, and that was it initially, at least. So
this makes a lot of sense. So like you don't want to start a new company and then have to convince folks to put a lot of effort into making the changes needed to adopt your fork. Whereas in this, just hand them a recipe and off and running. I think that it's just a perfect story. Yeah?
Yeah, exactly. And then, of course, we didn't stop. We didn't just fork release and then just, we're done. We, of course, continued building on Timefold. So, so I already said the single command to move to our fork. This is the command, by the way, from OptaPlanner to Timefold Solver. So that was it. It's still in our documentation for people that have not forked us yet, but they still need to keep up with the latest versions of Timefold. And basically, we have the same thing there, except now it's not from OptaPlanner to Timefold. It's to latest, which coincidentally also runs from OptaPlanner to Timefold if you run it on an OptaPlanner code base. So if you still run OptaPlanner and you want to move to the latest version of Timefold, you can run the script. There is an asterisk there, is that sometimes we have something that is so complex, a breaking change, or something that we just don't want to support anymore, and we don't have a good replacement for that, or there's something wrong with the integration with Quarkus or something. So there is a command, but it doesn't. For example, it doesn't update your Quarkus version if you're running on Quarkus, just because it has so much cascading effects. We list in our documentation, like run this, and then usually if you upgrade your Quarkus version, it will be fine and you're on the latest version. If you keep up to date all the time, then that's just a no-brainer. That's just a no-brainer. So that's sort of how we are doing it and approaching it. Which also leads me to something like rethinking breaking changes a little bit. So this is less of a Timefold thing because we have not really done any breaking changes. But that's what I've seen at previous companies, like these internal frameworks. If a breaking change, when is a breaking change really a problem, right? It's really a problem when it's, for example, in production and you're hosting a REST API, because then you break your clients immediately. That is definitely a problem. But when you're hosting a library, it's actually only a problem if it takes a lot of effort to refactor the code. If it's not a lot of effort, yeah, you have to bump your version number anyway. And if it's then not a lot of effort to refactor, then the breaking change is not like super bad. And I think this is exactly where Open Rewrite is such a powerful proposition. So if we ever do decide with Timefold to do a breaking change, I don't know when, but you can't keep dragging for 15 more years all the code, I guess. Maybe we do, I don't know.
There's always the small things where you make one small typo 10 years ago and you think, oh, this is awkward, I want to get rid of this one. And then if you can automate that away, then suddenly it's not something that you have to keep dragging along. You can choose to move away of that. So.
Yeah, and if you then are able to give all your users just a small script like, yes, we know we're doing technically a breaking change, but here is the script. Yes. If you run this, all will be fine. I think the real tricky part is in the promise of all will be fine, because if you've not done a breaking change, and we've besides the switch from OptaPlanner to Timefold, we didn't do a breaking change. Yes, we changed the package names, but we didn't really functionally change much or anything. So I actually lost my train of thought there.
At least like the nice thing is in your case, at least for the customers coming from OptaPlanner, they already know the mechanisms of how you're expected to switch, how you're expected to upgrade. Mm-hmm. And then indeed, we can lower the barrier for further changes still. Maybe there's optimizations you can do to the way that you use an API. There's more helpful ways to do things. Maybe use a builder pattern here to stay ahead of future breaking changes. All of those you can already automate and just continuously improve the code in this way. And,
I think there's one interesting case that I've been talking to our engineers about, and that's since we've had a lot of new features with the Timefold version of this project. So I shouldn't say Timefold version of, just since it's become Timefold, we've added a lot of new features. We've recently started introducing preview features in a separate preview package. And I've actually been testing the waters with our engineering team. For the people that use these preview features, should we have recipes that once it goes public, that they can just run this one recipe and they don't have to manually go change these preview features to what we finally make of it? And I think that's a very interesting one as well, because I think preview features is, I'm not going to lie, something heavily inspired by what Java has been doing with preview. It just works so well to get the API out there. But with the asterisks of we might change this.
Get feedback. Then don't commit yourself to maintaining it for the next decade, but at least have a way for folks to if you want to use this, go ahead.
Yeah, exactly.
The folks at Lombok, they have something like some annotations are experimental, and that's pretty much the same thing. Or in their case, even fewer guarantees. But then, just to make the changes to change that package, that is a trivial recipe to write. So, definitely can recommend.
Yeah. So that's sort of we are keeping an eye on that. So if we ever decide to go for a breaking change, then we should be able to just provide a recipe, and it shouldn't be such a big deal.
Sounds good.
So that
and always happy to help with the recipes. I did a PR
2 days ago. I saw. I was like, I'm going to give a presentation. I'm just going to check I was just checking out a bunch of different stuff to prepare for this, and then I suddenly saw your name, and I was like, cool. Cool.
You do what you can. I need to fix something on our end still before I can do more contributions in an automated way. So it's not going to be the last one.
Good feedback for you guys. I mean,
Yeah,
I
definitely.
think that's the interesting thing. So OptaPlanner has existed for like 2 decades, since 2006. So there's a lot of things in OptaPlanner and Timefold that have been in there for so long that sometimes it's hard to gauge if I change something here.
What's the impact?
What's the impact, especially since sometimes in a project that has lasted for this long and started as a pet project, you can have these things where things ended up in they're technically in a .internal package, but since we didn't use JPMS or anything to get those internal packages like out of sight, like this is actually just a problem in a lot of the Java space. Quite some libraries have internal, and we kind of assume that if it's an internal package, people will not start using it unless if it's really convenient. So it's kind of tricky to even determine what is a breaking change. Because if I change the feature, I don't change the interface of a method, but it depends like 15 layers down on a method that was changed, then is this, yes, technically it's a breaking change, but you don't see it unless you dig 15 layers deep. So it's a tricky balance.
You don't have to tell me about the balance of internal APIs when you're maintaining 5 or 6 different Java compiler internals for parsing Java and Java doc, and they keep changing things. Sometimes they've even changed things in a way that you think that won't possibly break until you're like mixing and matching versions, and then it's just it's fun.
Yeah,
fun stuff.
For us, it's a Timefold. The solver is super configurable, so you can do a lot of things. I just glanced over it today, but you can do a lot of things to manipulate how it explores these different options. But some of those things were actually internal packages, and they were for us. And
if you ever want to explore this problem space, then we have a solution where
interesting.
Of course, you know Modern, what we can do is we can search across open source projects. So if you have, let's say, a couple dozen open source projects using either OptaPlanner or Timefold, and you want to see which features are they using, are they actually using anything from their internal package, or are they even using this feature that you maybe want to revise going forward? And if you see that out of a couple dozen, no one has used it or has used it in the past decade, we can tell you that. And that can help shape and inform the direction that you take your project. Because
I think that's a super feature. I unfortunately think that given the nature of the problems we're solving, we're often talking about enterprise level planning problems, and enterprises are not just open source.
How to more efficiently operate a logistical company is not the type of project you find on GitHub.
Maybe there are, and we have some quick starts that give like some inspiration. But our enterprise models are also not just open source and available for obvious reasons, I think.
Only fair. Makes sense.
So that's kind of what I wanted to show today. So I've shown a bit of Timefold, a bit of how we use Open Rewrite to deal with some of the more, I don't want to call it annoying, but we try to take some of the annoyance away from our users just by giving them scripts that they can easily run. I think that's like what happens most frequently for you guys, right?
Yeah, but we focus on the term like toil, something that is it's work, but it's not productive work. It's not going to add to your bottom line. It's just something that you need to get done. And for as much as we can automate and get you off of that, it means you can do more interesting things, like make better use of your APIs to get that 25% reduction in the travels that you do with your cars every day. So, yeah, definitely.
I think we kind of do the same. I think we kind of do the same, but like on different levels. Yeah. Like we try to schedule like things in the physical world more, and you try to optimize just avoiding to do all this stupid refactoring work, because it is a bit like brainless, just refactor, change package name, and if you can do that automatically, oh god.
Yeah, I can already see like the every time you on your end you have delivery folks like waving to each other on the street, that means that they're going in the wrong way, and that should have never happened. They should never be able to wave to each other. because that means the other person could have done delivery there on that side of the street. So,
unless if it's close to a depot where they both need to get
Yeah,
their packages,
okay,
or if someone asks for a constraint, I want my I want my drivers to see each other from time to time because that's good for employee retention. Honestly,
that works. Team building.
The problems we're solving, it really depends on the company, like what constraints they activate. I say we have over 100, but every company will weigh that differently, and even within a company, people will weigh that differently. The person responsible for the finances will maybe try to optimize, like getting the most money out of it, while the HR department might actually want to make sure that they don't over demand their drivers and all that stuff. So there's always like a bit of a tension between all these constraints going, and that's just super interesting space. So whenever there comes a new problem that we haven't really tackled yet, it's super interesting to dive in, just ask these people questions and see. We launched a video recently about pigeon breeding, like the optimal way to pair pigeons together so that they make a better pigeon. It's one of the more weirder use cases I've seen people that use our software, but still, it's super valuable. And turns out that pigeon breeding is like $1 million industry because people want to pay a lot for a very optimized pigeon. So who knew?
Yeah, I could see like the other side, like what does a company want to optimize for gets philosophical. This is more like a different type of optimization problem. I don't know.
Yeah, sometimes it's just optimizing your employees, and then it's these trade-offs between constraints, and sometimes it's just something totally out there that we're like. There's also a company that uses Timefold to optimize the messages sent from satellites. So satellites fly around the planet. They need to send a message to a specific location on Earth. So it plans when certain messages need to be sent by which satellite to which direction. Because satellites fly around, they don't always have access to. So it's a whole complex planning problem. It's super cool to see these kind of things being solved with the technology that we work.
Definitely. And especially since in your case it's so very practical. It's very much applied in the real world. You have something that you can optimize the heck out of, and make folks more productive. And also, we're lucky to always have like a run again, and nothing in the physical world has been harmed by the changes that we're doing.
When it really becomes interesting. So we both speak at conferences, but there's quite some conferences that are using Timefold to make the schedule. So whenever I get a bad slot, it's like, oh yeah, Tom, you could have fixed this. It's like, no, I don't know. It's not because we made the thing that we have control over everything. It's not like Modern has full control over all the recipes ever written by everyone.
It's just I don't know what do you want to optimize for, and it's
exactly.
But any like I know you had like an offsite in the past week. Any kind of sneak previews, things coming up, things we should keep an eye on?
No, that was the offsite was really early. We weren't given like much limitation, so I was more dreaming about the future of like in the next year or 2 years. So that's not something I can speak about publicly. The things decided there. We do have like a monthly release of the solver, and there's a bunch of preview features there already, so you can always have a look there. And besides that,
I saw you just did a new logo as well.
Yes. It's interesting because we are a sort of a startup scale-up now, and at first Timefold was just a fork of OptaPlanner, but now Timefold is doing. We have a platform. We sell models. We have SaaS. So we had to differentiate between Timefold as a company and Timefold Solver, the thing I've shown you today. So that's why we have a new logo and so on now. So that's. I tried to. It was so easy to just copy paste and in my IntelliJ just do one replace. I didn't write a recipe for that one. But
if it's straightforward, then yes, use the best tool available to you. But
exactly. And in this case, it was the glorious find all and replace all of my editor.
And if you only have like one project, that's fine. It's just if you have like 50, then you start doing it. Can't just think about doing it another way. So.
No, it wasn't that bad. We're not that distributed with our own projects.
Okay. Yeah, no, so yeah, with that, I think we're getting near the end of the stream. So yeah, any closing remarks?
Well, first off, thank you for having me in this conversation. I always liked chatting with you, Tim. So it's fun to have done it online for once.
Yeah, it's different from the usual hallway track of a conference somewhere, but hope to see you in person as well.
This is a bit more relaxing, I must say, because during conferences, often it's so busy. Like I need to be at the booth, you need to be at the booth. We have talks at different times. There's a bunch of stuff going on, and this was just like a casual conversation. So that's great.
Catching up.
I think if I want to leave with something, it's not just Timefold, but for anything, try to experiment with some other tools that are in the AI space that are not just Gen AI. Because I think that with this over focus on Gen AI, we're kind of missing a lot of value in machine learning or the sorts of AI mathematical optimization things that I've shown you today. So try to experiment with that. It can all be done in Java or whatever programming language you choose. So.
Absolutely, it's just because there's a shiny new thing doesn't mean that the rest of what you've been doing for 20 years doesn't suddenly have value anymore. It's I think I would much rather see a schedule optimized by Timefold than I would see what ChatGPT thinks is most efficient.
We have some benchmarks for that. It doesn't work. So I have a talk about this, and I did try it, and it said very confidently, I've assigned everything, and then I visualized it. I just took whatever it gave me, and I visualized it on like the demo UI I showed you before.
Yeah.
There was like one person that had to work 5 shifts in the same day. It was just a complete mess because that's just the scale of the data. We're talking about a lot of data here, and LLMs are just not equipped for that. What I am curious about is like the intertwining of agentic agents to help me build my models, and also to use LLMs to explain the data a little bit in human terms, because we're talking about constraints that might be a bit too low level for some people. So just, for example, the score analysis I showed on the question mark, where you could see all the constraints and how many matches there were, you could potentially just let an LLM translate that and say, oh yeah, you have 5 employees that are working a bit of overtime. That might be valuable there. So the intermingling of those layers of AI, like AI that we do, machine learning, and then Gen AI, I think combining those is way more interesting than just doing the Gen AI part.
No, definitely, and it's good to use the strength and make it complementary on just, I don't know, explaining what you do with good reason already, but then in a way that can actually be explained to that plumber that doesn't know why he's having to wake up on a Tuesday morning when he preferred not to, but yeah, all the other colleagues also had their preferences. So,
usually it's something like that, yeah.
So thanks very much for joining us, and then hope to see you again in person or at a conference soon.
Hope to see you again. See you, Tim.
Yeah. Thank you.
Bye, everyone.